The number 16 starting pitcher this past season was Pablo Lopez, who had a career year, first season with the Minnesota Twins, 3.66 ERA, a 1.15 whip, 234 strikeouts, tied for third best in all of baseball. The Twins really helped him take that next step. We saw a velocity jump on the fastball. We saw a brand new sweeper, which was an awesome pitch for Pablo Lopez. And he's now managed to stay healthy for 180 plus innings 2 years in a row. So not saying that those shoulder concerns are completely behind him, but he's managed to stay healthy. So you feel a little bit more comfortable with that. Number 17, the aforementioned Corbin Burnes, who finished with a 3.39 ERA and a 1.07 whip. I can tell you, as someone who had Burnes on multiple teams, it felt a lot worse than what the final numbers look like. The final numbers look okay, but while it was going on, it felt a lot worse than it actually was. We now have a 3-year trend, Scott, where strikeouts and walks are going in completely opposite directions for Corbin Burnes. And that is something that scares me. I know he's entering a contract year, but I typically don't like to see something like that for Corbin Burnes. Swinging strike rate down to 12.2% this season, which, again, it's good compared to others, but it's not Corbin Burnes like levels we've seen in the past. And then Kodai Senga was the 18th best starting pitcher this past season. First year with the Mets, and he was very good. 2.98 ERA, 1.22 whip, just over 200 strikeouts this past season. We know the control was a problem, Scott, but did improve quite a bit in the second half of the season. So we've got an interesting group here. Pablo Lopez coming off the breakout. Corbin Burnes, do you still trust it as an ace? And Kodai Senga, who just had a breakout first season with the Mets.
And now we're talking. I like these pitchers more than the last trio. We'll start with Burnes because he is the name we're missing from that top 7. I have him 5th for next year. Sort of like Garrett Cole, he did take a step back with the strikeouts, and that would be more of a red flag if the rest of the pitching ranks looked better than they do. I think Burnes has a bit more of an excuse, and maybe this is why it feels worse, is because he started so poorly, and we just tend to remember the start of the season more, I feel like, either the start or the end, those of us who are still playing till the end. His velocity was down early on. His strikeouts were way down. The velocity normalized over time, and in the second half, Corbin Burnes had a 2.71 ERA, a 0.99 whip, and 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, which sounds a lot better. It sounds ace-like. He only had a 3-3 record in those 14 starts, so it didn't feel as like, because he only got 3 wins out of those 14 starts, as good as they were, so it didn't quite have the fantasy impact that it should have, which is probably why he's down here at 17th. But I think the ratios, if you're not comparing them to past Corbin Burnes, you're just comparing them to other starting pitchers. Corbin Burnes still looks like an ace. And so I'm still ranking him like an ace at 5th for next year. Pablo Lopez is great. He's better than this. He's better than 16th where he finished. So Spencer Strider was obviously distant number 1 in strikeouts. We talked about Kevin Gausman, number 2. Blake Snell, this NL Cy Young winner, tied for 3rd in strikeouts with Pablo Lopez, 234. And there's a reason why Pablo Lopez had so many more strikeouts. He went from being a fastball changeup guy to introducing this new sweeper that itself was a huge swing and miss pitch to go along with that changeup. His expected ERA, his FIP were both much better than his actual ERA. I think he's going to pitch more to that ERA next year. Lopez, for me, number 12 pitcher for next year. Kodai Senga is my number 13 pitcher for next year, just because I like them strikeouts. And he proved himself to be one of the best bat missers in the game with that ghost fork. His K per 9 rate was tremendous. He did walk too many guys, but it got better over the course of the season. ERA, all the numbers got better over the course of the season, but the walks most significantly. It's going to remain an issue for him. I think you're drafting Kodai Senga with the understanding that your whip might suffer a little bit because of it, but the strikeouts are worth it, and I think he's going to keep the ERA down too.